Okay, so I'm going to speak in English, so I hope it's clear for everyone. And we are going to start this talk and this a meeting today, and people are going to come and to join us also in the next few minutes. But in the meantime, I think we can start. So today, I'm glad to have you here with us, also people in presence with us, and also people who are participating online. We are going to discuss and to present the project Connecting New Generation, in particular Connecting New Generations Belgrade-Rome, that is about the collaboration we started 2 years ago between Italy and Serbia. And it started like with a dialogue, with exchange of emails, idea, and then it develops along the time in also residence of some Italian artists in Belgrade, and also with an exhibition that took place last year. And then we are now continuing this dialogue together. And we will see also the next step, which will be the next steps, for example, an exhibition in Rome and something else. But we'll see everything better during this meeting. So today, a part of this meeting, so me, the curator of this project, I'm Alessia Simonetti, and Miroslav Karić, the co-creator of the exhibition and also of these collaborations we are continuing together. The Italian artists, Giulia Apice, Verdiana Bove, Caterina Sammartino, Luca Di Terlizzi, and Maddalena Scuderoni. And the Serbian artists, Sonja Lundin, Jana Jovašević, Nikola Pavković, Jana Simić, and Aleksandar Smederevac. And we are here physically. The talk is taking place here in Italy in Condotto 48. And also, I would like also to mention Spazio Y and U10, other two independent art space, which are part of this collaboration since the beginning, U10 in particular, but we'll see also in the course of this meeting how our collaboration has started. And also, I would like to speak just a little about the project Connecting New Generations. So Connecting New Generations is a project that aims to activate and strengthen the cultural bridges between different countries and to explore cultural landscapes and the emerging contemporary scene internationally, through meetings, residencies, exhibitions, and other collaborations. So the first important thing of this, the first important point of this project and first goals is to foster human connection and also to expand the network and initiate like a shared professional pathways that can endure over time, because everything starts from the human connections. So from the meeting, from the encounter, and then you can start also working together. But the first thing that for me is important, and also for my experience, is the human encounter and human meeting. And so the first step of this project is the collaboration with Belgrade, so between Italy and Serbia, in particular among Rome and Belgrade. But of course, we are working also on other connections. For example, also we are in contact with the Slovak Institute in Rome. And also we are also considering other collaborations, because that's only the start. We have just started to bring to this project. And particularly the Connecting New Generations Belgrade-Rome, as I said before, started in a couple of years ago. So the beginning was with the U10 art space. We started the dialogue like 2 years ago with them. It's an artist-run space based in Belgrade. It opens in 2012, and it's really an interesting space. And I invite you to see what what's happening there with them, and also if you have the chance to go to Belgrade, so to visit this space, to discover Belgrade in general as a city. And then I went to the October Salon, and it was really an important point for me because in the October Salon, like I had the chance to visit, to explore the city, Belgrade, and also I met the team of UTM and also other people, artists. It was really an important step for this project. And in this occasion, I spoke also with Giulia Apice, who is an art historian and curator, very important, like also in the connection between Italy and Serbia. And then after that, the Italian artists that I mentioned before, they went to Belgrade. Thanks to they had like an artist residence, thanks to the Cultural Mobility Scheme founded by the Creative Europe program of Europe and implemented by the Goethe-Institute. And our partner there was U10. And so during this week, they had the opportunity to explore the city, to discover artistic, cultural realities, to meet also many galleries, spaces. And I reached them, so I went there for a weekend, and that was the occasion when I met also Miroslav Karić, the co-creator of the exhibition. And so that was a really important, another step in this collaboration. And at the end, the group exhibition that I co-created with Miroslav, that was realized, so hosted at the Italian Institute of Culture in Belgrade from September till November. And then it was realized with the support and collaboration of the Institute, of the Italian Institute of Culture in Belgrade and with the Italian Embassy in Belgrade in partnership with Spazio Y. And that was really a good result for us, because after 1 year of collaboration, of dialogue, we saw this result, but was not the end, of course. And then we are working on the second step, what for us is really important, that is the second exhibition, group exhibition in Rome. So we would like to bring this exhibition also in Rome. It's like one of the main goals we have. So now I can, interrupt the exhibition. So say the presentation. So if Miroslav would like to say something about this exhibition, about the collaboration, before also leaving the words to the Serbian artists, because we are going now to have a remotely studio visit with them. I leave the word to you, Miroslav. And then for people who would like to see later, of course, all these images about installation view about the exhibition, this presentation will be available online, and you can write me or to Condotto, we can send you everything, of course.
Hello, my name is Miroslav Karić. I'm a curator in the Museum of Contemporary Art in Belgrade. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So first of all, I want to thank you, Alessia, for invitation to contribute to this project, and of course to thank to amazing group of artists: Giulia Apice, Verdiana Bove, Luca Di Terlizzi, Caterina Sammartino, and Maddalena Scuderoni from Rome, as well Sonja Lundin, Jana Jovašević, Nikola Pavković, Jana Simić, and Aleksandar Smederevac from Belgrade for the great show that we realized last year, and Alessia already told, in Italian Cultural Center here in Belgrade. Also, Condotto, thanks for organizing this event. And as Alessia already mentioned, this project was exhibition, the result of curatorial connection between a group of artists from Belgrade and Rome, actually from Italy and Serbia. And I would say that, and I mentioned that in my text, introductory text in the catalog, a modest contribution to otherwise very, very rich and a long tradition of collaborations between our respected artistic scenes. In certain periods, that collaborations and exchanges were, how to say, more or less frequent, intensive, especially during the decades in which emerged the generation of artists that transform the paradigms of art. Shortly, in that sense, I want to introduce you to the Program activities of Belgrade Cultural Center as a meeting point for all local artists, which during the 70s and 80s, together with the mind-like peers from all over the world, including Italy, brought the changes to the language of art, expanded the field of media, technical and processual possibilities, paving the way for what we today consider as a contemporary visual expressions in art. Thanks to Jerko Denegri, art historians Jerko Denegri and Biljana Tomić, our scene was introduced to the artists, collectives, art historians, theoreticians from Italy. And I will just to give you a few names from the mentioned periods that were like dear guests and collaborators in Belgrade in that period, including Mario Merz, Michelangelo Pistoletto, Mimo Germano, Gina Panet, Nunzio Di Stefano, Piero Pizzicanella, Achille Bonito Oliva, Germano Celant, and many others. And actually that kind of collaboration between our scenes was, how to say, in that period, very, very intense. It was like in the period of 80s, of course, during the period of the 90s, it was like a little bit, stopped because of the well-known situation that our country was in this really, really dark and dramatic period. And I would say that these kind of collaborations between our scenes and in general, it's up to, and it was maintained by really enthusiasm of the individuals. And one of the projects that I really like to how to say introduce you, and when we are speaking especially with the connections between our two scenes, is actually another project run by curators and art historians Biljana Tomić and Dobrila Denegri. It was a project Real Presence that was conceived and run from the 2000 until 2010. After the period of isolation, of international isolation on our country, and actually isolation of our artistic scene, actually, at the beginning of 2000, they initiated that project that brought each year in like 10 years, in the period from 2000 until 2010, brought hundreds of young artists and students from all over the world. And it was like, how to say, notable presence of Italian artists and students in that period in Belgrade. That opportunity, how to say, for exchange, for a dialogue, for a synergy in creation, actually give us another position of our scene in the period, let's say, in the first decade of the 21st century. And we are speaking the artists who are like formed and starting their careers in the very, how to say, changed environment, increasingly shaped by digital technologies, various forms of visual communication, and the growing, I have to say from the other side, and the growing complexity of the art world. And at that moment was marked with the, in a way, explosion of the art market and also proliferation of large events dedicated to the contemporary art. In the last, let's say, 10, 15 years period, which the generation of artists that we represented within mentioned exhibition in Belgrade, the generation that was, how to say, formed, finished the fine art academies or like starting their careers, also was marked by really, how to say, new challenges and developments within the broader social, political, and cultural contexts. Just to remind of the dramatic events of the global health crisis or climate change, the radicalization of global conflicts, the reactivation of the geopolitical polarization also, and of course, from the other side, rapid technological development that transform everyday life on every level. So for us as a curators, when we like conceived the whole exhibition, there was like a few questions that we, how to say, consider very important to pose. First, how do the young artists respond to the time they live in, and how do they reflect out in this really dispersive reality, fragmented experience of the world in a constant change, and I would say like transition between the real and the virtual. And how can we, from the other side, having in mind their practices and their works that we choose for this exhibition, in which way we can interpret that especially the fact that in their artistic reflections, they very often, how to say, turn to the traditional media. Within this exhibition, you will see there was like much more present to the media of painting, drawing, sculpture. Of course, artists experiment a lot with the different materials and manual processes. And for us was, and especially for me, having now insights from the other side, the practices of Italian artists, I noticed this kind of interest or special research focus on, for example, the historical heritage of art, where they exploring, for example, from the medieval philosophical thought, mythology, spiritual content, up to the engage with the really themes of individual unconscious. So for me, and for Alessia also, in our discussions, so we, from one side, we're like searching for answers for those kind of questions. First of all, having in mind that the same efforts that previous generation of artists had during this moment of major upheaval and civilizational shifts. I noticed that some kind of similarity, having in mind the practices of Serbian and Italian artists at the moment, reminds me a little bit on the artistic development and atmosphere and this kind of phenomena that are dealing with the period of the 80s, when we have this kind of shifts and especially revival of some traditional media, but also including the themes from the history and so on. So for me, that was like really one of the important, how to say, points and one of the important links that I could make some kind of connection between their practices, So from the other side, we also can interpret their works and their artistic preoccupations as a sort of need to find a certain support in the search for personal and collective identity. And I saw their works not in that sense engaged directly, but also a sort of subtle critical gesture against, let's say, these like dominant or prevailing narratives of technologized society, that we are like in this like really increasing moment of like explosion of the technology and use of technology and everything, But from the other side, we are still society that is succumbs to the prejudice, stereotypes, and we are like witnessing, and recently, like several years recent, the violation of the basic human rights. Also, for me, it was very important fact that their practices can be read and understand as a necessity at this moment of the really extreme speeds to slow down and to return to reflective observation and the experience of the world, which is now at the moment completely submerged in the endless scroll of information, visual stimuli, for which we are no longer certain for their authenticity, with this like recent AI phenomena and so on. And we are also searching for their relevance in the terms that you're like, it's like a billion of informations that we are consuming in 10 minutes or like even lesser time. So for me, the fourth or fifth actually point was important when we have this exhibition in mind is actually that Italian artists were visiting Belgrade at the moment when we faced the student protests and events that strongly marked, how to say, the atmosphere in our society. And for me, it was like really, really great that some of the Italian artists actually were inspired and actually included some of the expressions of the city, of the places, of the cultural content from Belgrade, what they vibed to their works, or they're just like taking some of the motifs and integrating their works and in their poetics. I will mention like Caterina Sammartino, Giulia Apice, Maddalena Scuderoni. They actually included in their works, really this kind of first insights and impressions from their Belgrade visits. Although I would say that they have like and share like different approaches and strategies, their works are connected and really linked to this really specific sensibility of the time, of the ambience that we are all living, and across different, of course, geographies. And interesting, looking up at the past, for some answers and understand how to understand the present, no matter is it a private or like shared on common histories. And I would say for the end that for me, I would say that rather see their practices as a guest of confirmation that art is still a field of capacity and possibility to react and to articulate our realities, to reveal all what be like visible or invisible structures or like mechanisms and ways how world around us functions in its complexity. And I would add like also complications in social, political, cultural, economical sense. And also their importance to raising questions, constantly through their practice, no matter is they are doing like they're directly in very engaged way, or if they are doing like really finding a new subtle ways how they will do to comment, reflect, and also posing some of the possible answers, and the result of their daily research. So now we will entering the next chapter of this presentation, actually the presentation of the of Serbian artists. And I will just add before I gave the floor to them, that despite the very hard conditions that we are like all of us working here, with the lack of the really sustainable support from the state, in every way struggle on every day. So they are like really fighters in that sense, and like really having great artistic production, showing, of course, in Belgrade in a local level, but also finding a way to show abroad, internationally. And thanks, Alessia, once again for the opportunity to be the part of this project. And I really hope that very soon, in a couple of months or until the end of the year, we will have also opportunity to show in vivo the artistic production of Serbian artists there in Rome.
You, Miroslav. Okay, now you can hear me. Yeah, I was with the microphone off. So thanks for your words, for sharing your consideration. And also, I hope I share the same hope with you that we'll be able to have an exhibition in vivo here in Rome soon. So I now leave the space to the presentation of their works to the Serbian artists. So I don't know who would like to start among you.
I think you might have to pick.
Sonja, maybe you can start.
Okay. Yeah, why not? Sure. My name is first on the email. So, okay, can I share screen or?
Off again? Yes, of course you can share. Yeah.
Let me see. My internet might be a little bit glitchy. Doesn't seem to want to let me share the screen. Maybe somebody else can do it before me while I refresh my browser.
Okay, if you want, I can try also like this. You see my screen right now, right?
Yes.
Wait. I'm gonna do like this.
One member of the U10 art space. Okay.
But you don't see. It's only my Gmail. I don't know how to share
You
the
can
screen that I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, we are seeing. No, we are like on the email, I think.
On my email.
Yeah.
Wait. Like this. Like this. Okay. Is it better?
Yes.
Okay.
Full screen.
So
Great.
to start. So my name is Jana Jovašević. I studied with Nikola, Alexandra, Anna, and Sonja at the Faculty of Fine Arts. I did my work primarily in the field of sculpture, and I would like to start my presentation with this work, which is my most recent work, and it's called Tree of Knowledge. And it's installation piece made out of wood, plywood, artificial grass, plastic leaves, plaster, and polyurethane. And it's kind of like a chaos of material, which is exactly what I wanted to show, the combination of natural materials and fake materials, cheap materials, and that are like way kitschy. What I wanted to do in this work is to deal directly with systems of control and to show how meaning becomes rule. In this work, I collaborated with my friend artist Caterina Sammartino, and I layered my work on her sculpture of snake, which is crowned with a head of a phallus instead of a head of a snake. And I deliberately rejected singular authorship here. Instead of a finished object, the work functions as a layered palimpsest where there is multitude of voices. Here is the biblical theme of Tree of Knowledge, and there I made this apples. I can show you the wait. This is my portrait of me as an apple. And in this work, I questioned whether shame, transgression, and sexual control are natural conditions or social constructs that have been extraordinarily effective in producing guilt, shame, and discipline and surveillance. I wanted everything to look as if it was the children's theater, and I wanted all the materials to be seen as that they are handmade and that everything is not made in some fancy artistic studio. I wanted my practice to be similar to the way I live my life and not everything to be posh. And also what I wanted for this scene is to be funny and playful, because I critique the system, that is true, but I'm also kind of like a player in that system. After that, I would also want to talk about this work, which also has a funny name. It's called Pussywood Face. And here I worked with collage and digital media. And here is also my practice that focused is on sexuality. And here I wanted to show how perception functions and how in human perception, in Gestalt psychology, we tend to organize. Can you hear me? Oops. Great.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. For a moment, I thought that you cannot hear me.
No, we are here, Jana.
Yeah. So here I made collages out of the pictures of three cavities or three barks, which resembled vulvas or anuses, and I made them to resemble some uncanny faces or figures that lean towards the abstraction. And for me, it was also important here to be funny and to be playful and to do everything raw and quickly. And as in previous work, I was interested in systems of control, and in this work, I'm interested in perception and how in that perception we tend to make everything anthropocentric, and I thought that is something that is a quality of humans that we mustn't forget, that we look everything through that lenses. And then there are some more works that regard sexuality and censorship, and what we tend to think is vulgar or not. And I would also, this work, I like to use a lot of natural materials such as clay. Also, I made here a lot of fallacies from terracotta and put them in this kind of like Utah bags. So they resemble something here. This work is more spiritual and meditative in a sense that I wanted to make some situation where I talked a bit maybe about how death and sexuality are intertwined. It's called For Bataille because of the philosopher Georges Bataille, and I kind of honored him in this work because he's also kind of has a wicked sense of this world, and sometimes that makes me. Sometimes when somebody sees world in such a bit like wicked, distorted way, it helps me find meaning in this chaos where we live in. This work is called Hook, and it's also about other form of sexuality, which is hypersexuality. And this sculpture is more classical. I wanted to show how I'm interested in the display of, for example, some objects in museums and how they have some missing parts and limbs, and they make it kind of work and construct the missing pieces and kind of like put everything to imagination, and maybe reconstruct the thing, imagining it how it went and how the whole thing functions better with that imagined part. And for me, that was also very interesting. This is the work called Me. It's a kind of like a self-portrait, and it's about feminism, of course, because we put ourselves into such a painful procedures, such as, for example, stupid procedure that we go through Brazilian wax, and how that painful procedure, that performativity of female sexuality is constant, and we never seem to escape that role. Yeah. This work is one of the works that I like the most. It's called Siren. It's an inverted figure of a male siren, and siren are beings that are connected with something like mystical feminine energy and mystical feminine creatures, and I put them here into male role, and I kind of like inverted that figure, and the figure misses its head. It misses, if it was a human, it would miss head and arms, and also if it was siren, it would miss head and arms. So I kind of like combined it and inverted it, like, and presented like it's something pulled out from our imagination and like from the depth of our subconscious. And I kind of tied it in this shibari ropes, showing how we always try to suspend the objects of our desire. And in this work, the color red evokes, it's the color of love, of eroticism, but it's also a love of, it's also a color of flesh, of blood, and also something that is nearly connected to sacrifice, capture, and also like what is important for me, to something repression. And this is a repressed creature that has been pulled out from our subconscious. And I have here also that creature, but done in a different material and executed differently to be more elegant. It is a miniature done in bronze. And here are some of my my works that have been connected to land, that have been connected to also nature, natural materials and to something like similar and more close to land art and rawness. And also these are the real teeth that I have been collecting from my dentist. So this whole piece has a lot of genetic materials of various people, such as dirt outside, that also is former dinosaurs, or I'm interested into also to past and human history. So yeah, another erotic piece, but something in land art piece installation. It has this piece was shown as a photograph in the exhibition we had together with Italian artists in the Italian Institute in Belgrade. And this is also one of my playful pieces, which is whatever you do will suck. And people were given task here, like a simple task to take some clay and make penis of wildest imagination. And I have created a big collection with a lot of funny pieces. And this work is also kind of like taking the edge off this competitive, tough world we live in. So that would be should be something short about me. This is also some little objects I have that are also like strange objects, and a bit of my drawings for the end. Yeah. So do you have any questions for me, maybe?
Okay.
Jana, sorry, Jana, it would be good, just like in brief to present other work that we show in the exhibition.
The other work.
Yeah.
I don't have it here, actually. Maybe you have it in your, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Alessia, if you have like the photo of.
I have it here. Wait, I have to open another. I have the photos, but I have to find a folder and then. Because
it's actually in a way starting with the like new chapter also, and also somehow summarize your practice, in the sense of.
Yeah, I can show you that, but I have to dig into it's on my external drive. But I can say what it was about if Alessia doesn't have the photo.
Yes, just me double check here on the desktop and we'll find them. Yeah. Okay. In the meantime, anyone? Domande? Qualche domanda da fare a Jana? Curiosità? Okay, I was asking here in the
If
room.
anybody.
Yeah. Also, if people who are now participating online, just raise their hand, and of course you can make questions and anything else. Also share considerations.
Yeah,
So,
I hope I was clear that I didn't run too fast.
Yeah. No. Everything was clear.
Yeah.
So as considering you was the first person we meet in some way coming to Belgrade with the residents, of the artists there, and so that's why we have maybe a little more exchange together. What has this experience, this collaboration together, given to you, both from a personal and professional points of view?
Actually, it was very important for me to meet Italian artists because of the current political situation. Maybe we tend to, like, when some country is having difficulties, it feels kind of that we are cut away from the world. And in that sense, it was like really nice meeting young artists from Rome, from Italy, to see to maybe have a feeling what do young people do then, and their struggles about the art world in Italy, how the things are there with independent spaces, maybe how is it with the gallery, with how is it with the gallery system, and to see if we are on the same page thinking about the what is happening right now and how do we perceive like some relationships and personal stuff, and also like political situation. And that was very nice.
Yeah, also for us was very
interesting
because, of course, we know better each one, and also we explore the different artistic, social, and cultural scenery. For example, for me was like strange, when you told me we don't have any studio, and now, also when organizing this like remote studio visits, they told me, okay, we can arrange it, but for example, not from our houses, because For us, it's so strange, to not have a studio or a small place or share the common space. So, and also the situation of art, independent art space. For example, I remember also the case of Vermont. It was a really very important art space, independent art space in Belgrade, and also Misha, you worked there, no?
Yeah, for 20 years. Yeah, it was like one of the biggest loss, like in recent regarding the contemporary art scene. The closing of the Remont gallery space. It was not just like a gallery space; it was like more like informal center for contemporary art. Like really important cult place for the especially the younger artists. Organizing not only the exhibitions but also different kind of projects in the local, internationally. It was like really great motor to the artistic scene. And unfortunately, with all these reasons that we are like facing now, like for a long time, it was the time that they decided to close the gallery and to actually remove from the retire from the scene, in the sense of there is no any more energy in that sense, like keeping going, when you're constantly in this kind of situation of uncertainties and fighting, on everyday level.
Yeah. Okay. So in the meantime, we found the pictures of Jana's work at the Italian Institute. So I share it with you. Okay.
So I do like stop presenting, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So just a few words about this work. This work is something where I also put some space that is not that is like a fake religious institutional space. It's an improvised holy place, which resembles kind of like a cave, and it's near my hometown. It's in the western mountainy area of Serbia, and it's really like rocky. There are no villages nearby, only like nice landscape area, and people, mainly hunters, came here. And because it's called Savina Voda, because of our famous saint Saint Sava, and a lot of places here are called by his name. There may be some like mountain tops or something, and this was called the Sava's water because it's probably trusted that it brings some kind of like miraculous like if you wash your face with it, if you're blind, if you have some eye problems, you'll be able to see. And people tossed money, and I collected like this decay damped money and kind of like put it in this evidence boxes, and with a photograph of that place. And there is a lot of similar banknotes, so it's very visually striking in this type in material to see how the paper kind of like how the paper decays and becomes nothing, becomes dust. And it is also like for me it is some kind of waste that I've stolen. But there is also, if you see at the bottom of this picture, like a cut plastic bottle of Coca-Cola, where there is also like some money which is not as destroyed as this like little monettes that have been hanging. And for me, this place is also this work is also about sacrifice, because a lot of people, like what you sacrifice, you sacrifice a certain kind of value to get something. So for me, it was about like also putting some religious uninstitutionalized place into a real institution, and in the institution of art. So I think this work has many layers, and I think for setup of this work was fun, and I think I'm going to develop this work even more, like more spaciously on some other occasion, maybe if that exhibition in Rome happens or something. So yeah.
Okay, so great, thanks, Jana. So okay, so who's next?
I can try now if you guys want. I've changed my browser, so it should be good. Let me just.
Yes.
Yeah, should be good. Second. Oh no, hold on. Maybe it wants to gain permission now, so I have to restart Chrome. So sorry.
No problem.
It's not a day for technology and me. Okay, wait, maybe now. Hold on. No, it says I can't share screen. Let me just try and restart, refresh.
Yep. Okay, great.
Can you see and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm in full screen, so I can't see, but I think you can see my screen. Yes. Hello.
Yes, we can see it. We can see it.
Okay. So yeah. So anyway, I also just wanted to say before I start listening to Mitja talk a little bit earlier, it's kind of interesting whenever a curator starts to talk about the things that we as artists kind of innately feel. But I think, we feel like we are also alone in the way that we perceive the world around us. And when we're working, I think a lot of the time it's a very isolated sort of practice. And then whenever I listen to Mitja talk, I find it so inspirational on some level. But realistically, working in art is kind of it's an interesting thing to do, especially in the contemporary day and age, in this like post-industrial, post-Benjaminian, and I'd say like post-consumerist society, where I think a lot of the time you're somewhere in between like a sociologist and a craftsperson. So with that being said, I find myself asking a lot of questions about my own identity as a person, but as in my profession as well, and in the art career that I'm building every day. So that's sort of something that we'll get into in my art practice as well. But it's just, yeah, it's always lovely to hear that, like when an art historian kind of talks about that and understands that and sees that, and those are kind of the questions that I think everybody grapples with, but artists are maybe a bit more mindful of them, or like maybe we have a tendency to awaken them inside of ourselves, as just like you kind of have to face it firsthand, like you have to look at it in the mirror almost. And Jana's work as well went into a lot of that, a lot of like questions about identity and just like social structures and how they shape us. And so anyway, what we're looking at right now is a view from one of my solo exhibitions at the U10 Gallery, actually, and this was in like 2022 or 3, I think February 2023, actually. And that was after my master's, so I had completed my master's, and this was one of my my larger solo exhibitions, and it was called "Don't You Want Somebody to Love?" by like after the Jefferson Airplane song. And it's all about my relationship to my family, basically, and how it's shaped my identity and how, but in a very sort of Frommian way. So if anybody has read, in Serbia, it's quite a popular book to read, like especially when you're coming of age, the Erich Fromm's Art of Love, I think it's called in English, or the Art of Love, or the Art of Loving, or something like that. It's called Umeće ljubavi in Serbian. And it was very inspiring for this specific exhibition, which I'll get into a little bit later, but just like background for that picture. Anyway, a little bit about me. So I was actually born in Sweden, in Stockholm, in 1997. My father is Swedish and my mother is Yugoslavian. She's half Montenegrin, half Serbian. And that's kind of an important piece of information because it's come to shape a lot of my artistic practice, because I use a lot of archival footage from my family's photo albums. My grandfather on my Montenegrin side was a prolific photographer, so there's a lot of like beautiful, beautiful photography that's left over from from former Yugoslavia. And because both my grandpa and my grandma on my Serbian side were cultural workers, so my grandmother worked for the Museum of the Applied Arts, and my grandfather was the director of cultural heritage, or the zaštitu spomenika, what's it called in English? The Institute for the Protection of Cultural Heritage. And so they were just surrounded with art, and a lot of photographs that we have are of specific cultural heritage that just doesn't look the same anymore in this day and age, so it's transformed. And yeah, I grew up abroad. I spent most of my time between Sweden and Belgrade, but we lived abroad because my parents were diplomats. And so again, there's like a very, I don't know, in my personal identity and in my art, I work a lot with like how cross-culture makes you look at things differently, and how you might understand the world around you, and the European identity and the Eurocentric identity versus like the Balkan identity and perspective on just geopolitics and life itself and emotions and everything. I finished my bachelor's in printmaking at the Faculty of Fine Art in Belgrade, and my master's in painting, also at the Faculty of Fine Art. And so that kind of influenced the technique that I would take, or that I still kind of experiment with. I like to play around with printmaking and painting as if they're kind of the same cloth, like, pun intended. But basically, I use a lot of silk screen printing in my works. It was my favorite medium at university, and to this day, I absolutely love what it taught me about color theory and how it taught me to use different channels. And and today especially, there's a lot of digital preparation that goes into silk screen printing. And then but I'm also a very big fan of like oil paints and watercolors, and I think that there's a true like sensitivity in those kinds of pieces. And so I kind of play with this, like you'll see later in these works, mixing the two mediums so that you can almost not tell them apart really. And sometimes I literally mix them on the same pieces. So I've had about 13 solo exhibitions, give or take, because I started to exhibit even before I was at university, and then over 30 group exhibitions. And just like a fun little tidbit of like who inspires me personally. So currently my favorite artists are Ed Ruscha, Tracy Emin, and a Swedish artist known as Mama Andersson. And these are mostly like people who I admire in their painting, but of course Tracy Emin, even her conceptual work is quite, I don't know, influential to me. So a little bit about my work, I already talked about it, but it deals a lot with nostalgia and memorabilia. And because I use a lot of photos in my work, I think a lot about the theory of photography. So one of the exhibitions that I worked on was heavily influenced by Barth's theory of the photo, and how, we're essentially killing moments when we take photos, and what that does, and how we look at photography, not just as like a technical process, but in the philosophy of time and time travel almost. and the ability to freeze moments and identities forever in time. I love to deal with, like I said, color theory, but specifically CMYK theory through my printmaking practice, because that's how I tend to split channels and then sort of play with them and see what, taking specific channels out of the equation does to imagery, and how that plays with a photo. And I used to use a lot more, now I'm kind of getting back into that area, but I used to use a lot of my own journaling and writing in my pieces. So I had almost like this automated practice of writing thoughts that would come into my head when I was painting. I haven't done that in a while, actually, just because it became almost like satiating for me. But a lot of my pieces and their names, for example, will have specific sort of thoughts or philosophies that, I don't know, I notate, I write down somehow. And then connecting to the next point, exploring the impact of the digital revolution on the self. So even with the things that I write down, I'll write them down on my computer or in my iPhone. And then I kind of play around with these like digital tools, because I'm also a graphic designer in my day-to-day. I spend a lot of time with using my laptop, using different software, and that's come to influence a lot of my artwork as well. And right in this image, for example, this was my last solo exhibition back in May at the Youth Center here in Belgrade. And it touched a lot on like the use of technology and how it's changing our perception of nature. But we'll get into that in the next slides. So right here is a piece, or this is an exhibition in Užice at Reflektor Galleria. And the exhibition was called I Dream Only About...
Sorry, Sonja.
Yeah?
I don't know if for me it stopped at the first frame at U10.
At U10, oh really?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's, how about now? What do you guys see now?
It's about, yeah, it's the next slide.
And it's my work, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then I guess when I'm presenting, you can't really see it, so I'll just do this. There you go. Maybe that's better. So yeah, okay, this is the image of the Youth Center exhibition. And this is the first, this is what I was talking about just last. So this was at Užice. It's a city in Serbia, and it was in a Reflektor gallery, which is in the former minting factory in Užice, but since then it's moved to a small village. In any case, it's a pretty well-known gallery. They do a lot of work with a lot of modern, emerging artists and young artists. And this was the first time that I showcased these two pieces. And the exhibition was called I Dream Only About Them, But It Is Never Quite My Family, which is a paraphrased quote from Barth's work on the Camera Lucida, I think it's called, the book. It was a while ago, all of this, but correct me if I'm wrong. And he had a quote in the book where he's talking about how an image is almost like a dream you have, where he would see his mother in his dreams, and he would know that it wasn't really her, but it's such a likeness to her. And so he said, I dream only about her, but it is never quite my family, my mother. And then I paraphrased that and I said, I dream only about them, but it is never quite my family, because these are all images of my grandparents. So my Montenegrin grandfather and my Serbian grandmother, who both died before I was born. So I never got to meet them. But then this whole like rich archive of photography was left behind by them. So I really do feel like I see them whenever I'm looking at any kind of imagery or anything left behind by them, and our life, because we moved around a lot in my family, has been so heavily dependent on material belongings. So things that you take with you, things that you save, things that you archive and conserve. And a lot of our house was like that. It was filled with these objects and these photographs that just reminded us of like our family's identity. And I think that that's a theme that a lot of people in former Yugoslavia can relate to, the importance of taking care of things, of nurturing physical things, because you can lose them any moment. So yeah, this big piece is called Shoeshine. The big piece, the purple piece, is called Shoeshine. and it's my grandfather getting his shoes shined. And the piece next to it is called Gora Zeleni, and it's my grandmother actually on a beach in Montenegro with a very nice hat. These are both screen prints or screen prints. And they're done in this like grid way because it's the only way that you can make such a huge format. And that's also why I typically only do unique pieces, because they're very technically challenging. I work on cotton canvas most of the time because it's versatile and I can easily archive it and pack it, but then I can also I can actually, you know, put it in the washing machine technically, because print screening with acrylics is also very safe for washing, for example, which is it's good for me as somebody who likes to exhibit it, so like free flowing, and sometimes they can get dirty. But yeah, so I kind of came up with a way to work with this medium that fits me as somebody who doesn't have a lot of space. I tend to use workshops of friends when I'm doing screen printing, because screen printing and printmaking in general is quite demanding spatially, and even it requires a lot of collaboration, which is one of the reasons that I actually like it and enjoy it. It's kind of a community activity. You do need help sometimes when you're printing. But anyway, because I do these demanding large scale pieces, I usually only do one of them, which is a bit unconventional for print screening or screen printing, sorry, because any kind of printmaking technique is used for editions and for the mass production of artwork. That's why printmaking was originally created, technically. Or, you know, it was part of the Industrial Revolution. And so for me, it's interesting to use it in a way where I'm actually creating like unique pieces that aren't really repeatable. So it's almost like I'm turning it over on its head a little bit. This is just another view of the piece, Gora Zeleni. And I tend to keep the titles in their original language, just because for me, as somebody who is trilingual, the semantics are kind of important to me, and the way that words sound, the way that languages sound is important for me. And it can be a little bit of a headache for like curators or people who are writing about the pieces. And, you know, I'm flexible. I do offer, or like I think it's fine to translate them whenever it's needed. But I personally, like as an artist, I think that a lot of these words just have kind of an interesting ring to them in the appropriate language. And so Gora Zeleni means mountain that's greening or getting green. And it's actually from like a lullaby song in Serbian about the rain falling. And so for me, like when I think of my grandmother, for some reason, I have this association that she was a very kind and calm woman, and it reminds me of a lullaby, and it reminds me of rain falling in Montenegro. And in any case, this is a view of the printmaking workshop in the Faculty of Fine Arts and what it kind of looks like when I print these large scale pieces, because they take up a lot of space and I annoy a lot of people, but it's worth it in the end. So this is the piece that was actually part of the exhibition in the Italian Cultural Center. And it's called, so it's got quite a long name. It's called Your Ability to Accept the Awareness of Events That Transpired Before Your Existence and Their Vastness is What Saves You from the Burdensome Nature of the Ego of Centralizing a World that existed before you into something that exists for you. It's an interesting title that I think it was an epiphany, I suppose, I had when I found this photo. This is a photo that was taken by my grandfather of a mountaintop in Montenegro that has since changed dramatically. So the landscape looks completely different now because of the construction of a new monument on that mountaintop. It's kind of a political, interesting story about the cultural identity of Yugoslavia, which was dictated by a single party state. And they basically, this was a shrine, or what's it called now again? It's called a It was the final resting place of our archprince, Njegoš, in Montenegro, and he's a very influential, very important figure in the history of Montenegro and its identity, its cultural identity. And he designed this as his final resting place. But then somewhere in the 60s, and it has a very tumultuous history with the Austro-Hungarian Empire, who displaced him, put him in Cetinje, and put their own archduke there. And then there was a lot of back and forth, and there was the destruction of it in the First World War, and then they reconstructed it afterwards. So it has a very long and arduous history of being, torn down and then put back up again. And then the communists, once they came, they decided to redesign it, basically, to renovate it with the design of a artist, I'm sorry, I have to go get my charger. I'm so sorry, but my computer is now telling me that I don't have a lot of battery, and I don't want it to interrupt me mid-sentence, so 1 second. Now we're back. So this story, to continue, is very politically packed as well. And it's interesting to me because whenever I find these images and when I find these kinds of photos, and I think about what cultural identity and heritage means to people in former Yugoslavia, I'm so well aware that it's such a different conversation in Sweden that I led for a lot of my life as well when I was living there. And so to me, I kind of see myself on the one hand as like an observer of political and cultural theories that existed before me and are evolving as we speak. And then especially in today's day and age where in Belgrade there's so much conversation and so much upheaval around cultural heritage and the protection of it. We just had like a huge fight for the Generalstab, which is a big building that was bombed in the 90s. It sits in central Belgrade, but it's like one of the only examples of a specific type of an architect's work. And it was sold to Trump's son, and then there was a big protest around it, and finally the Americans backed out of the deal. But we're living in a world where rules almost don't apply. So living in former Yugoslavia and living in this cultural climate that exists here, where things still aren't quite stabilized, and there's no clear definition of things, and it's very interesting. And this whole idea that you as an artist, you can't really get away from your social context, I think it's really important, and I think it rings true. And whatever you create is on some level a reflection of the context that you're living in. And so this piece is a little bit about that. It's about me figuring out not just my family and its history. It's about me understanding the country that I live in, the attitudes that exist, and the way that I guess people look at things in difference in relation to the ways that I've seen people look at things in a Eurocentric world, where when I say Eurocentric, I mean more of the global north and in Sweden, the way that things were taught to me. So this image was taken by my grandfather because at the time he was part of the committee that went up to decide on these things, and it was a big controversy as well, because a lot of Montenegrin artists and a lot of Yugoslavian artists wrote specifically to the cultural committee to veto and to be against, to voice their concern about this reconstruction of the design. But the design was also made by a heavily influential artist who's considered one of Yugoslavia's most important artists. In any case, I've now gone on about this long story that is interesting, but it's extremely long, and so this piece is a lot of complex stuff about that. But I feel like it's okay because this piece was part of the exhibition, and so anyway. So a little bit of fresh air. This was from my exhibition at the U10 gallery, and These two are both kind of different pieces. So this is the one to the left is called Farfars Herbarium, which is Swedish for my granddad's herbarium. And it is actually my grandfather's herbarium, but it's my grandfather from Sweden. And my grandfather from Sweden did not have such an influential role in the politics of his country. He was an engineer, but he grew up in northern Sweden where he collected a lot of different plant life when he was 15 for a homework assignment. And then we found it when we were recently moving him out of his childhood home. And this was part of the exhibition, Don't You Want Somebody to Love? Because that piece reflects sort of the relationship that the distant and sort of Protestant relationship that I have to my Swedish family and Swedish heritage, and how Swedish cultural identity is sometimes more linked to sort of like the practical or the physical world around you more than it is to the emotional inner state of you and your family. And then to the right, there's a painting that was done in panels with various different techniques. So it's oil paint, it's photo transfer, and it's silkscreen print. And it's taken from a photo of my father and my sister walking through a forest, which is why it's called Skogen, which means forest in Swedish. And then there's an entire, at this point in my pieces, I was using a lot of these like motifs that you find in the actual photo album. So the little stars to the right are all kind of part of experiencing the photographs in the photo album. And this is just a little bit of a close-up of what that looks like.
Okay, so Sonja, I don't want to interrupt you, but I only just worry about time because, because also other three of you have also to speak. I don't know if you would like to say something else just to close your, to finish your speaking here now, but of course we will share your portfolio with all the people who are here today with us and who will also are participating online and also to other people, so they will have the opportunity, of course, to see everything in details. I don't know if you would like to add something or just to close the.
No, I mean I can stop here. I won't go on if the time is short, so it's fine. But yeah, if anybody's got any questions or anything, then that's fine.
Okay, so thank you. I don't know if anyone has some question here. No. No, okay, so we can go on the next presentation. So sorry, Sonja, for interrupting you, and I'm sorry about that, but okay, thank you. Hvala. Okay, so who's next?
Maybe we can continue with Anna. Anna, what do you think?
Yes, I could be next, sure.
Yeah.
I will. Is this how it's done? Oh. I also have to change the permission before I do it. So if anybody else wants to go before me until I fix that.
Nikola, Aleksandar, who is ready?
I asked Aleksandar if he could reshare my presentation because I'm on my iPad and I don't know how to reshare the screen. Yeah. I mean, if he could do that, yeah, I can do it in a fast pace. Yeah, I thought to present the work that I do with my twin brother, Alex, who he isn't currently here, but yeah. I think that
just a second, I have to find the
yeah, it's okay. I can speak before it starts. Yeah. For the Italian artist, you met Alex at the end of the year, I guess, when the exhibition was opened, and I was at the residency in Germany at Düsseldorf, and yeah, this is some of the presentation that I said to Mitya that because I didn't have much time because of my solo exhibition, and I'm so sorry for if it isn't that part of a good. Yeah, I will start with the digital home. Yeah, if I could. Yeah. Yeah, so the digital home is like the installation sculpture that I did back at a city called Niš. It's at this art colony, which is only mainly focal point of the art colony is like using the LED screens. And so I was inspired what is what is home currently. And for me, a home is currently like an iPhone or I don't know, messages. So I collected the text between Alex and me, and Alex also sent, I don't know, emails and whatever we had. So we put the whole like digital imprint that we have talking to each other in these like light boxes. And yeah, it's like constructed, I think it's like aluminium scaffolding, yeah. And LED is imprinted through, I don't know, via like Bluetooth or something. And yeah, I talked with Alex when I was like making that work. He was like on the other side of the like phone, and that was like the main thing where how I started to like reimagine the what is home like with me. Yeah, sorry for using filler words. Yeah. Can I also like you show the little houses made of hair? Yeah. While working with also Alex, because we have like we do things as a duo, we like shaved some of our heads, hairs or no heads, yeah, and we put it the hairs on like these little objects which resembling the home. I was quite inspired by like Louise Bourgeois, where she made like the little homes of marble. So while using the material such as hair, which is combined with the same DNA, I like reimagine where is like the end and the beginning of like the thinking who am I or who is Alex, yeah. And yeah, that's with that work. Can you like maybe show like the sakatsa at the beginning? Yeah, it's like the typing. Is my internet okay or no?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
see.
okay, yeah. So this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a student youth center that Alex and me took a part of this exhibition called April Meetings, which is in reopened student youth center that we took a part as. If you know, we had like a huge protest thing, and the government shut down the student youth center, but it was like open for a short time. It was like a guerrilla moment where like students entered and reopened the student youth center. The main point of this exhibition was like to like reimagine what was once before, as Mitchell was talking about Biljana Tomic, who and like who was like one of the main curators of the originals, such as Dunja Blažević and like Slavko Timotijević, who took apart also Miško Šuvaković. Yeah, the name of the work is called, I mean, the things that it writes is Alexa Nikola something needs to sell in life. It's like reimagining what is art now. Is it sellable? Like, yeah, it's mainly a conceptual work where we question ourselves, does our art like matters? And yeah, also Miško Šuvaković wrote something about the exhibition. Yeah, and it was like in a rounded, I don't know, spherical staircase type of place where it was exhibited. So yeah, for me, this exhibition was one of the main I don't know, fragments in my like current art career that I'm really proud of that I took a part. Yeah. And also I wanted to talk maybe, I don't know what is in this slide. I would like to check it out again. I'm so sorry. Yeah. And yeah, can you like show the scaffolding with a bathtub? Caucasus scale.
Vidimo, Nikola, we are seeing this work.
Aha,
Yeah.
okay. So, I'm sorry because like maybe it's like the Wi-Fi because of me. So this is like one of my newest works that is like I'm in my new like solo exhibition, which is and the series is titled Untitled Property, where I found the abandoned objects which was like abandoned in my house. We built like a new house and all the stuff, photos, and memorabilia that the last family left because they didn't have their, I don't know how to pronounce that word, the living ancestors. So we bought the house with the full, like, furnished old objects. And in this piece, I'm like using the bathtub. I like turn it upside down, and the scaffolds I found from my grandpa's friend. Yeah, and this was exhibited at U10. And one of the thing that I like this work the most is like the name, which is like does manually dissolve in water. I think that yeah, one of my main like inspirations currently for my art practice is like the movements such as fluxes and arte povera, and the yeah, the thing that I like the most currently like a minimalistic and conceptual sculpture that I'm taking a part of. Yeah. So I'm sorry if I didn't like if I wasn't that good, yeah, with the presentation, but yeah.
Everything was clear, Nicole.
Yeah.
Everything was clear, no problem. I think it's just curious also about the works in some way and the connection you have with your twin. No, it's something that
Yeah.
also in your work, of course, but also this connection, no, is really important both in your work, but also, no, with you at personal level. I don't know if you would like to share a few words about that with us, or
My connection with my brother, as you Alessia said, or yeah,
yeah, it's
so
in some way
yeah,
also the text that Miroslav wrote, no, about your work. This duality
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
duality.
duality, yeah.
yeah,
So if you like, Alex and me are like on the same faculty. We are both studying sculpture at the Faculty of Fine Arts. Uh, as you said, for the whole, I don't know if, yeah, for the whole life I knew Alex, and we were so emerged with the same, the work, yeah, where Alex and me are like, the work is titled Cuts Than Me. So we put our clothes and the imprints on the like the sacks are like the scissors. So which is like yeah. But to be back to the question that you asked, Alessia, I was Alex and me are like working on some of the works and the projects together like as a collective, and the thing is we always talk about the same topics and the same kind of like art scenes, yeah, and we are constantly together, so art always happens, and it isn't like something, how do I would put it in words, it isn't something that is so kind of strange to us because you when I'm like thinking about art, Alex is always like to say something back, yeah. So yeah, I don't know, living with another artist in the house makes an interesting input in my life also, because I always have some words back because I can always talk to it. So that kind of, I don't know, practice is so important for me. Yeah, and I think for my current and my next works, I will do like more stuff with Alex. Yeah. So yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you,
I
Nicola.
don't know if there are any other questions or something. Okay, so we can thank you, and we can proceed with Anna or Aleksandar. I don't know who would like to speak now.
I think I can continue since I'm currently sharing the screen. So
Okay, great. Thanks.
do you see it? No,
Not yet.
no,
Yes.
not yet.
Mm.
Just a second. Wait, what is this?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, okay.
Just okay. Well, hello everybody. My name is Aleksandar Smederevac, and like other people here from Belgrade, I studied at the same faculty. Though I studied painting, and I'm still on my PhD practice on painting, but I wanna connect with Mitja and this kind of like current talk of the art world. I kind of during the my study there, I kind of faced with this problem of like relevancy of painting. So I tried to within my practice maybe pose some questions or maybe retain some theories or theses about painting, like how is it relevant enough in this like post-conceptual practice, and also with this between like East and West dialogue in my painting practice or like art practice. I investigate the status of the image and in ways in which the truth or authority and the meanings are historically kind of produced through specific images or some kind of modes of visuality. So rather than approaching images kind of like as neutral vehicles, I try to put them in a historical situation or maybe investigate some formal or material or compositional aspects. And so in this way, this research focuses on Byzantine painting as kind of non-Western painting, specifically at the late kind of Byzantine Paleologian era, where I examined the relationship between like contemporary practices and like these like post-conceptual practices with these like before Renaissance era thinking of images of painting, and mainly in that practice I kind of stumbled upon these kind of questions about like the Byzantine like not just empire but like as modes of thinking, and also like does the Byzantine that do Byzantine studies what do they kind of teach us, because it seemed that the Byzantine studies are kind of taught out by Western institutions, predominantly by French, German, and American like centers of thinking. So it's kind of constructed by their way of thinking about Byzantium. So like in that sense, the Byzantine studies kind of developed in the 18th century, in the Enlightenment era, and they were immediately perceived not the studies itself, but like the whole culture and the political system and the economic system was perceived kind of very backwards and like anti-Western. So I kind deal with these like discrepancies of how certain theories or images or narrative is constructed within that kind of I don't know how to say discourse or something. Mainly, I focus on the Byzantine fresco, not particularly the icon, because the icon theory in the Western era is very kind of fetishized and very predominant, because it is posed as some kind of like the other. It's like antithesis to the Western painting, because it's kind of hierarchical, it's religious, it's very flat, it doesn't use like perspectives and all that kind of stuff. So both on theoretical and formal levels, it seems it's constructed as something completely different. But during my research, both in the visual process and intellectual process, I stumbled upon that there isn't this kind of how should I say difference in that. So if you look at like fresco painting, those are very narrative kind of modes of production of images. They kind of absorb multiple influences, so they're not so abstract and where you like think about like how religious thinking thought about the image. It wasn't so strict. So of course, during the kind of evolution of the painting kind of was, or the theory of painting in practical way, not in the theory itself, was very loose. So I find these differences. There are many similarities between the Eastern and Western kind of modes of production of images. So kind of like the foregrounding the fresco painting, I try to draw attention to these visual practices that operated across like architectural space, kind of duration of time, and addressed the viewers, because the Byzantine image was very ceremonial. It was part of the communion. It was part of the community of a village or a specific some sort of social center. So these are my works. I mainly like, these are just charcoal drawings on the on a canvas. I didn't do I didn't show earlier works. These are really like the latest thing that I did from this year and the past year. But I kind of draw on this like narrative mode of production, of communication, of figures, of how also the text influence the image itself. So this was actually exhibited in the Italian Cultural Center in Belgrade. Now this is not the photo from the exhibition, this is from the studio, but nevertheless it's here. So I'm kind of working with architectural architectural forms, and also I kind of think about heritage, or although not in a like institutional sense, I'm more in a broader anthropological sense, like how does one survival of a picture shape our narrative of certain history, how should I say? And so yeah, I'm kind of in these works really thinking about more about for like spatial arrangements rather than maybe painting or drawing. Although now that I said it, it's maybe more about paintings. I don't know. But I want to show these works. So I don't have the original one in my presentation, but maybe it's more interesting. So what I did here is that I painted, firstly, this painting, as you can see on the, like, let's paste it on the mountain. And that was exhibited in a solo exhibition at Gallery Non Canonico. And there I kind of tried to connect with the like Middle Byzantine or late Byzantine textural forms. So what I did was use like descriptions and letters of Emperor Manuel II. Don't remember, this is just like the influence I'm taking, but basically the Byzantine way of writing is very non-Western. So it doesn't use kind of rhetorical structure of writing as the same as our modern our modern era. So when I say that, I'm specifically pointing out that it's very vague. And one scholar described like in general, like the letters and ekphrasis and descriptions of works of art from the Byzantine era as like Christmas gift cards, because they're so banal and they're very stereotyped that you don't actually you can't really think about the image that was described in a sense. So the emperor in question wrote a description of a tapestry, and when I read it, it was very vague. I couldn't understand like what was he actually pointing at. It was like a description of springtime or something. So I kind of tried to paint it, but then later when that exhibition ended, I took the photo of the painting and I pasted it on Google Earth on the actual landscape. So I'm kind of dealing with this like different narratives, and also how is a text or a form of text is describing like in this case like a landscape. So this kind of contrast between like a satellite, very precise image of a mountain or a city or whatever, and this kind of vague description of that. So I'm kind of juxtaposing these two modes of thinking, and I found that Byzantine culture in general kind of generates this fertile place for describing and kind of shape-shifting of some of these concepts. I forgot what program it is, but you can kind of take whatever satellite image you have from Google Earth or whatever, and you can kind of precisely like that precise image, you can alter it and distort and whatever. I forgot what the program is, but this is actually Mount Olympus. You know, as we all know, it's kind of connected to these places where the Greek gods live. I kind of distorted it and made it even more harsh, and I exaggerated the landscape, because I found another text, which I think it's anonymous, but it describes very vaguely the beasts that live in the said mountain. So it's not actually finished, but I still like want to work on that this kind of mountain. How should I say? So these are all maybe you can kind of make out the landscape here, but it ties with the idea, because the Byzantine Empire was in this territory, so you kind of have these layers of history, so like from the ancient Greek times to the Middle Ages to the contemporary times, and also like how his narrative formed in these spaces and histories. This is one of my traditional paintings, like oil on canvas, nothing special, but it's similar to those charcoal drawings where I use various elements from the fresco paintings, and I kind of distort them, rearrange them, juxtapose them, and kind of play around really kind of painterly. Which is, along the lines of like neo-expressionistic 1980s painting. I found that my kind of figural practice goes along the lines of like New Leipzig school of painting, where I see like Neo Rauch or Christoph or like all these other artists who I can't pronounce their names, but they kind of use the influence from social realism into their art practice. But now I don't use that practice itself, because in Yugoslavia we didn't have that. We didn't have social realism. We had modernism as a kind of like the state, how should I say, approved mode of art, or specifically painting. So it's very interesting to also look at that. So basically, yeah, this is a kind of brief presentation of my works.
Great, thank you, Aleksandar.
Thank you, Aleksandar. Just to add, we had like a very small episode of social realism.
In the 50s.
Very short one. And also, but the next time, for the next opportunity, maybe you will tell more about also the paintings and actually the works, the series of works that you are referring actually on the Italian art heritage.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
next time. Yeah.
Okay, next time. Okay, next time.
I will say another thing. Next time you will show them in Italy.
Yeah, in Italy, definitely.
Yes.
Not present, but show the work in Italy.
It's a surprise.
Surprise. Okay, so we can leave the word to Anna if there is any questions here. Not? Okay, so we can proceed with Anna. You have to go on the file, on your portfolio.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, because we see what you see on your screen.
Okay, no, it's fine now. Okay.
Thanks.
So this is the last group exhibition that I had in the Dots Gallery in Belgrade. What you see are the prints on canvas, digital prints, and I did those drawings digitally on my computer, and then I just printed them out on the canvas, and they are referring to the queer culture and the internet itself, the multitude of visual narratives presented online. And what I do in my work, I think, is combining those multiple elements that are available on the internet and constructing new meaning in each drawing. So those were the drawings. They have a queer narrative, a lesbian narrative, and most of them are about women loving each other. And those are very referring to the queer movies and the queer icons, yes, like also trans girls like Aisha Rotica, which is a trans girl musician. And everything that is like contemporary queer culture, I'm interested in those things visually, and I interpret them in the drawings. So I was talking about this work, and it's an installation where I designed the code for the website that I created, that it's on this laptop. And the video is from first ever uploaded makeup tutorials on YouTube. And this is the video that I created as a collage, and a collage of the makeup that was present in the MySpace era. And this is the exhibition that also Jana Jovašević also participated in. And this is the work that was exhibited in the at our exhibition. Here you can see it better. It's drawings with ink on cotton canvas. And I was interested again in feminism and how women's identities are presented through our reality of the patriarchy that we live in. And I given names like on duty or like a virgin, those identities that are often given to women. And this sculpture was also presented at the exhibition. It was aluminum, and I made it by using a hammer, which created the drawing on the aluminum. And these works are from my first solo exhibition, and they were also drawings on canvas. And yes, I'll be short because we're short on time. So yeah. Any questions, maybe?
Okay, so thanks, Anna. Okay, I don't know if there is any questions here. No. So, Miroslav, would you like to ask Anna something, or?
Yeah, I would just like wanted to ask in which way you are, like, for example, connecting the last project, the last work with this like poor media image and the previous one, like the drawings on the canvas, in relation to terms, for example, and also in terms of media. Is there any kind of connection?
With the drawings on the canvas, the only connection is the theme, which is feminism, which in my past work, it was more related to the reality away from the keyboard, and I'm more interested how are women positioned on the devices that include the keyboard and the online spaces and the technology of it all, and how do they take space, and how their position in real life is also reflected in the online digital space. So that's what I'm interested the most about. So that is the connecting theme of those two.
Thank you.
Great. So I think we have like finished our presentations, and Nicola, the reaction, love that, the reactions, and also sorry, yeah. So, by the way, I would like to thank you, okay, everyone here participating online. So thank you, yeah, that you are here with us today. Just okay, sorry, because the position is not so comfortable. Okay, now I'm fine. Okay, so, and I would like also to thank all the people and institutions and also Art in Strong Space participating to this collaboration. Okay, so I would like to thanks the Italian Institute of Culture in Belgrade and also the Italian Embassy in Belgrade, because with them it was also possible to realize the exhibition in Belgrade. And also I would like to thank also Luciano Catani, who was a person who helped us with realizing this project. And also who is part of the Italian Embassy, is like a site attaché. And I would like to thank Spazio Ypsilon, who was partner of the exhibition in Belgrade, and also U10, and also Condotto 48, who is hosting now for this talk today. And also I would like to thank Dobila De Negri and Biljana Tomic, who was with us at the opening in Belgrade, so sharing with us so important reflections and considerations about past collaborations between Serbia and Italy. And also, I would like to thanks also Cantini Vetro, was a sponsor who supported us in realizing the exhibitions in Belgrade, and we hope also to find other people supporting us. And regarding other future collaborations and ongoing dialogue, I also would like to thank the Slovak Institute in Rome and also the curator with whom I'm in contact, because it's important also, so Michal Stolarik, basically, it's important to like continue these new connections and to walk in a common path in the same directions. So thank you all. Hvala.
Thank you, Alessia.
Julia was saying.
I just would like to thank you for your carrying out this project, and Misha for welcoming and supporting the cause. And U10 and especially Jana. And last but not least, my artist friends from Belgrade and Italy. And it has been a formative enrichment experience. And we were in the middle of the big protest, no? So I say for Misha, I think it was very important because I think art is always a political act, you know? The act of creation is an act of resistance to that, to the system, to information. So it was a really important experience. So that's why I'm glad and honored to share this with this guy. So thank you. I hope this can be in the future. Let's maybe go. So thank you.
Yeah, so see you in Rome physically, not remotely, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Cross
Okay.
fingers.
Yeah. Ciao. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
sending love.
See you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessia. And
Thank you.
bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.